Hi and welcome to another gaming video, and in today's video I want to say that the Nintendo DSi XL is the best way to play Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. Right, in previous videos I've mentioned the best way to play Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, as well as Game Boy Advance games, but I was talking about physical cartridges. So for Game Boy and Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance SP is the best experience. It's got built-in battery, lit screen, and it can play physical cartridges. For the Game Boy Advance, the DS Lite is the best way to play physical cartridges because of the amazing battery life and superb screen. But if you're wanting a portable device to play ROMs, legally acquired ROMs of course, then I would go for a Nintendo DSi XL. If you install custom firmware and Twilight menu and you stick in a reasonably sized memory card, you can put all your ROMs in there and take full advantage of the amazing battery life, the dual IPS displays, and that bigger form factor that you got from the XL. Those massive screens just make Game Boy Color games absolutely pop. It really shows what the Game Boy Color game could have looked like if they'd given it a decent screen. I was recently playing Tetris DX on a DSi XL and it's absolutely amazing. If you then go and look at that game playing it on an original Game Boy Color, it looks awful. It's hard to see how we put up with how bad the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color screen actually was at the time, which back then we thought was superb. You could take a regular DSi and have a similar experience. Great battery life, great screen, but I think that XL from the DSi XL, the increased screen size and the better battery life is just the best way to go. For me, if I know I'm out and about and I want a console that is going to have all my classic games on it, then I take my DSi XL. It's rugged, its battery life is amazing, the screens are huge, it could take an SD card, and things like Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and MegaDrive ROMs don't take up a lot of space, so you can get quite a bit on a small SD card. Yeah, the best way to play Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color games is via a DSi XL that's been modded with an SD card in, and you can play your legal ROMs that way. Obviously it will only play DS cartridges or DSi cartridges if you can find the odd few. It's got no second or no slot 2 for playing Game Boy cartridges, Game Boy Color cartridges or Game Boy Advance cartridges. That was lost in the DSi. But if you're playing ROMs, I highly recommend a DSi XL as your go-to console. There you go. Let me know what you think, or do you have a different console that you like to play your ROM collection on? Link, like, subscribe, enjoy.